Hello again, Kai Bjorn for the Bjorn Identity Podcast. This is episode number 8. How many of you are out there? Am I alone? Hello? So anyways, I'm very, very excited to have my 8th episode of the Bjorn Identity, and it is, as always, fueled by corporate connections. My name's Kai Bjorn. I'm National Director and one of the owners of Corporate Connections in Canada, a global platform, and our proven structure results in members sharing opportunities for business growth, strategic alliances, joint ventures, and the creation of new enterprises. Our members are continuously collaborating to move business forward. I'm alongside with my partner in Corporate Connections, Trevor Botkin. What is Corporate Connections to you, my friend?
It's where I call home. It's my community. It's where I go to play. It's where I go to figure out how to solve most of the problems in my life, whether they're professional or personal. But it's my community. So that's
and it is where leaders
connect. It is where leaders. Is that what you wanted me to do? Sorry,
that was the
Connections.
The tee up, but I'll take what you said.
It's where leaders connect. It's my community. It's what it is.
So we're also graced with Robert Gervais, who is the global president of Corporate Connections all around the planet. Are you all right? You settled in?
Water bottle fell.
Hence the global part.
Yes. Hi, Kai. It's great to be here. Thank you.
It's nice to have you. In today's episode, I couldn't have two better people in studio with us to talk about Corporate Connections. And so today we want to talk about Corporate Connections. What is it? Why was it built? How is it built? Who's it built for? And what are the benefits for being engaged and part of this platform? And so from my side, Corporate Connections started about 15, 16, 17 years ago.
20.
15, 16. We're aging ourselves. It's like, how old's your house? I've been here 15 years. My wife's like, your daughter's 21. She moved in when she was 1. I've been here 15 years. Dog years. But we started Corporate Connections as a B2B business vertical. It was sort of this networking platform that didn't exist. And we put a bunch of executives together and said, let's get together on a regular cadence and support one another, help one another, and be better because of it. Over the past, let's call it 10 years from that point, we honed it. It was a localized platform. And then 7-8 years ago, it became its own freestanding vertical Corporate Connections.
2016?
2016.
Actually, January of 2017.
There you go.
That's when you did the legal
Dates
paperwork.
are very important.
Just
dates
the
matter.
milestones are extremely.
Dates matter.
But you know what? That piece doesn't matter as much as we took the time to develop and really create a powerful platform that worked. And from that point in early 2017, but it had started in the years before, we started to socialize it around the world. And now we are a very interesting executive platform to support each other personally and professionally to have better lives. And you know, we talked a little bit about this, Trevor, before. It's Corporate Connections CC, but then it's about community, peer-to-peer, learning from one another, supporting one another, collaboration, you know, that commercial side where we're able to connect and do better, and then cause, being able to give back. We're all very, very lucky. It is an executive platform that has an executive membership. Thus, a lot of us are very lucky people, and we need to give back. So the 3 C's. So mark it down. We're going to get that registered real quick for Canada. But it's great to have you two here. What's Corporate Connections to you, Robert?
It's the culmination, a little bit of a dream. When we started this, it was for personal need, and in my case, it was the growth of my business, Zero Fail. But it quickly morphed into something much. I mean, I met my wife at a Corporate Connections meeting, so of course, I've drunk the Kool-Aid. It's been good to me, and for me, Corporate Connections, and we grew 47% last year in our membership across the world. It's this incredible platform that it's a walled garden where I get to meet like-minded business leaders who are making a difference in the world. And I go all the way back to my 20s or maybe even earlier. One of my ambitions was to change the world somehow. And my ambitions have changed. They're maybe not quite as lofty, but I do think that I can have an impact in my community And if everyone I know is having an impact, a positive impact in their community, we can change those communities for the better. And CC is a platform that allows that to happen, not as a purpose. I think that's actually a byproduct of what we do. But I think when you put good people together and you give them a structure that allows them to achieve things and accelerate their paths, remarkable things happen.
Right on.
So it's
right on.
it's,
What
it's
about
a wonderful
you,
thing.
Trev? Yeah, well, reaching for the stars. I love it. What about
Well,
you, Trevor?
I always used to joke that we've always been selling Robert's life, right? Where Robert meets his wife through CC.
Robert becomes global president.
Robert sold his business through CC for more than he originally thought he was going to get. Like, he was happy with the number, and then his forum sat down with him and said, "You're on drugs. You're actually undervaluing." And then, was it a year later or 2 years later, you sold it for
less than 2 years,
considerably more, and that changes your life, obviously. When your daughter was born, she had some health issues, and it was a personal relationship through CC that got you the doctor, who was like, no, this is the program. Saved her life, or certainly improved her life. And so there's all these touch points along the journey when we talk about opportunities and these, and there's other members too that, I think of our Quebec member who had been trying to get into India for 10 years. And he just joined Stefan, and we said, "Stefan, you need an ask. You come to your first chapter meeting, you need something that we can help you with." He's like, "Really?" And I'm like, yeah, you have to come to the meeting with an ask. And so he shows up, he goes, "Well, okay, I have an ask. There's a company in India I've not been able to get into for 10 years. 3 times I've physically gone to their offices, and I've been stonewalled every time. It's a family-run business. Here's the name of the owner. Here's the name of the president." And so we texted Sri on the side during the meeting saying, "Hey, Sri, I need access to this person." So Sri put it out across India. Sri's running our APAC region. And within about 3 hours, he came back and said, "It's the golfing buddy of a member in this chapter." And by the next day, we had a phone call set up with the member and our member. And by the next Monday, that member had a meeting with the owner of the company. And
Wow.
and so at the next meeting with him, he's like, I don't have an ask. I'm terrified to ask again, because that was fast. And I think, we all have those stories of, when someone says, "Why should I join CC?" And you go, it's different for each one of us because our lives are constantly in flux. Like, it may be business today, and tomorrow it may be something that's entirely personal. Like I was struggling to find where to go for spring break this year because my wife can't come. She has to work. And finally, I was like, you know what, maybe I just go to Mexico City and then see Alejandro, who runs CC Mexico. And I texted him, I go, "Alejandro, would it be cool if I came and visited you in Mexico City?" He's like, "Oh my God, yes, like, come for 3 days. I'll plan out 3 days for you and your daughter." And that's what we're doing. As next week we're going, and it turns out Kai's doing the same thing. We're both abusing Alejandro next week. And other members have reached out to me and saying, "Hey, I heard you're coming to Mexico City. I'd love to grab dinner with you and your daughter." I have daughters myself, and that has nothing to do with business. I will see no financial remuneration from that, but the quality of my life, if I didn't have that, like, it's just it's
and
through
then
the
Trevor,
roof.
I'll add that you won't see business on the trip, but that doesn't preclude the fact of developing those relationships like we talked about in previous podcasts, that these relationships don't support in whatever capacity
No,
down
but
the road.
I get to go to
but
Mexico.
you don't expect it. Oh,
No,
yeah,
but
you
I get to go to
a hell of a
Mexico, and
great
I'm not a
trip
tourist,
now.
right? Like, I'm not a tourist. I'm going to go. I'm going to see all the cool things that, as a tourist, maybe I would be uncomfortable seeing, or I wouldn't go out on myself, or And so for me, that opportunity to have these relationships, I can't think of any other platform that would give me access to the quality of men and women around the world that I have access to, that just by the fact that I'm a CC member, I can pick up the phone. And I think of Francois Bélanger, who just went to Japan, and we introduced him to Tai Chi before he went to Japan. I'm seeing photos of the two of them in Tokyo, and Francois came back going, it was a life-changing event for me because of that relationship with Tai Chi. And there's so many stories of that, where connecting members sometimes it has nothing to do with business. We connected 2 members over ringette.
Yeah.
And that opened the door to business opportunities because of like, hey, do you know so and so? And it created opportunities. So it's that serendipity of when you take great people and then you put them in a structure and then you give them opportunities to play within that structure, to create and to co-create within that structure. And I think that's one of the gifts we have.
And
It is a
selfishly,
gift.
it's part of the fun. I was just going to say, I was talking to John from Chicago last week, and he said, I'm probably going to swing through Montreal at the beginning of April. And I said, I'll be in London for a couple of days because we're prepping our global convention. And he said, what dates? I told him, and he said, let me hook you up. You need to go have lunch with the head of F1.
The racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the what? Why? What? And he said, yeah.
Did you say
and
why?
sure.
And he said, well, because he knows the hotel that I'm going to stay at, and he said this guy walks by that hotel on the way to work every day. He's a buddy of mine.
Now, there's a man who knows how to foster and maintain relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he knows the walking route.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yes, he actually knows.
Yeah,
It's
he
funny.
knows relationships.
So, and he said, look, I want to connect you guys. I think only good things can come of it. So I'm going to meet up with this gentleman who I've never met. Wasn't going for that reason. And again, I think that's the quality of what we do. When you share what you're doing, people want to help each other.
Yeah,
and it's fun.
That's not. We have your local experience as part of your chapter, your provincial, national, and global, and I think the common theme here is when you can put an environment together where you can develop trust, understanding, and awareness of one another, good things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't happen overnight, nor do we say it's going to happen right away for everyone. But when you're engaged and part of our platform, you're going to learn. You have the peer-to-peer, you have the collaborative stuff. And we always say, when you join, you can join for one of many reasons or all of the reasons from above. But it's getting involved with a good group of people that have been vetted. We know that you do what you say you're going to do. I always say, if you're part of Corporate Connections, you can service and support any opportunities that are going to be generated from the collective team, and you're able to give back in kind in some capacity, right? So we're on the building stage, the three of us, of really building out this community around the planet, and so it's quite interesting, the melting pot of people that we have, and I find it very interesting that we all sing from the same song sheet. And what do I mean by that? I mean that a Corporate Connections meeting is the same whether you're in Mexico, Switzerland, Hong Kong, Cambodia, Poland. We run the same platform, and so everyone has the same understanding of how we engage, why we engage. Like Trevor said, we're not tourists around the planet. We're getting better and better at bringing this global community together, right? And so right now, Trev, what's your biggest want for Corporate Connections in Canada?
In Canada, that's a great question. My biggest want, I think awareness. I think finding.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
I would no, but I think we're unfortunately one of the best kept secrets at that level for business owners. I firmly believe that the more members we have across the country that buy into that vision and have that same mindset and want to look, I make no illusions. I don't think most governments around the world have this level of business in mind when they're supporting businesses. They're supporting the either massive or they're supporting the individual person at the bottom. And so I think business owners in that 5 million USD and up tend to get ignored and left out of some of the picture. And yet that's certainly in Canada, that is the bulk of businesses in the small to medium business. And so it's up to us as a community to come together and help each other. And so I think having more business owners, more diversity, more women, we're doing
awareness
in Indo-Canadian. So awareness, because what we accomplish as a small group today, you can think exponentially of if we could add or triple or quadruple that number.
Think about it, man. Listen, like anything in life, it takes time to build something worthwhile. It takes time, and so we're pushing towards 150 members across the country. We've got a nice little platform, and now exponential growth will be happening here in Canada and all over the world. and just talk a little bit about the Corporate Connections Canada Leadership Summit, which is, one of our first pieces of putting our flag in the ground here in Canada and saying, hey, man, we're here to do some great things. Finish the sentence.
Yeah, so and we've talked a lot about this, but when we were, because obviously we have our global convention.
Oh, don't worry, we're gonna touch on that one as well.
Oh, it's all good,
right? And we've been to, the first time I went was we were in Thailand, and then we went to Warsaw, which was an amazing experience, and then the pandemic hit, obviously, so we missed Miami, but then we went to Portugal and then Mexico last year. We're going to London this year. And so the convention's always been a great way to bring global members together and create opportunities for us as the business owners to come together as well in that. And so when we sat down to go, what would we do if we just took the Canadians? And where would we go and how would that look? And so we decided that most Canadians have never gone to Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories, which is quite a bit further north than most Canadians live and go, and has the Northern Lights and polar bears and an enormous First Nations community up there. And so we thought, what a great opportunity to bring members from Montreal and Toronto and Edmonton, Calgary, and bring them all to Yellowknife. And then the second question from that then becomes content. Not everyone's business, I think, lends itself well to creating opportunities at a convention on that. So we wanted to really put a spin on how do we create content around being better leaders, better business owners, better men, better women, better parents, but just really better leaders. And so instead of it being the Canadian convention, we called it the Canadian Leadership Summit, and really programming around leadership. The second piece of leadership is how do then we also support the next generation of leaders. And so one of the things we want to do, aligning with our core value of creating meaningful change and being catalysts for change, is to support up-and-coming entrepreneurs, students in the Yellowknife community. And then the last piece that was really important for us was with the wildfires last year. Much of our northern community were from an economic standpoint, were devastated, and some communities were literally wiped off the face of Canada. We're completely burned down. So it's an important piece for us to also kind of put our money where our mouth is and bring our economic dollars, but also our relationships. And I think for a lot of Canadians, they don't think of Yellowknife when they think about doing business. They think of going to Ottawa and Toronto and that and saying, well, there's opportunities in Yellowknife, whether it's in mining or in forestry and that. So
yeah, and you know what, Trev, it's also Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, meeting in Yellowknife, having these experiences, participating. Yeah. I love what you said, man, about the next generation, and that's a really important piece. Is it's the next generation of leaders that we're going to meet. We're going to make an impact. We're going to leave our stamp. Like I said, when we plant our flag, it's going into schools and building desks or whatever it might be.
We don't just want it to be dollars and cents.
No.
Like, we don't want it like, oh, economically, yeah, we paid the hotel and pat ourselves on the back. It's what can we do that's meaningful to the community. And I mean, one of our keynote speakers is from that community, and she works a lot with Indigenous children. She's a beast up in that community. And so when we started looking at the programming, it was how do we get our members who are already standouts in terms of their own leadership? What can they contribute to the conversation? But also, how can we lean in on some of the community up there? And also, how do we create better relationships with our First Nation community? Which, is similar to our experience when we went to Wendake. So I don't know how much you know about that when our forum went to Wendake, just outside of Quebec City, and met with the gentleman who was part of the big First Nations fund that had built the hotel there. It's a First Nations 5-star hotel in the community there. And the Wendake, I had no idea. I had no idea about the Wendake community. And Kai and I both did the tour. We went through the lodge. We did a cleansing ceremony with a leader there. We met the oldest First Nation autochthone business in North America, if not the world. They make moccasins and have been making moccasins since time immemorial, forever, literally forever. And it was a profound experience to see a community that was First Nations, that was entrepreneurial, intensely proud, and I was like, this is amazing. And so that's something we want to do also in Yellowknife, is how do we tap into that? Because most of us were disconnected from our historical roots. We're disconnected from the land. We're disconnected from any sense of something bigger than, you know, and that, so that I think it could be a pretty extraordinary experience. And Pete was saying is, look, I can go to London. I can go to a big convention. Global knocks it out every year. It's amazing. I can go. But he goes, going to Yellowknife, this is kind of one of those once in a lifetime.
Well, it's bucket list, man. It's things that aren't on your day-to-day. And I love what you said, Trev. I mean, one of the cool things for Corporate Connections, we all adhere and live by the same core values. And when you can put an activity or event together like we're trying to do that hits all 5 core values that we have, meaningful relationships, bringing people, doing something collectively that makes us stronger together, extraordinary experiences, you know, having those extraordinary experiences, culture of excellence. How do we make things better? Like Robert was saying earlier, better, you know, with our efforts. You know, when we're not around, we've put some effort in to do some type of activity that improves conditions for people. Seamless and simple. It's got to be easy. They now have direct flights from Montreal, Toronto, straight into Yellowknife, which makes it easier and more cost effective, and then being a catalyst for change. So shift gears to you, Robert, Gervais, Global President. When you see our core values and you're putting a massive event on in the next couple months, it's a must-attend event. What I find really cool is it's member-centric. A lot of times all these big global events for a large global company like we are becoming are owner-oriented, you know? The bottom line, how do we bring all our owners in? We have one day of owner activity, director activity, and then we have 3 to 4 days of member-centric activity. What's the idea behind that?
Well, first, I'd like to say Pete can go to both. He doesn't have to choose one.
He is going to both.
So it's not either or.
No.
All Pete's.
He is coming to both.
But no, you know, it's look, it's a good question. I think our ambition is maybe in some ways smaller than what you guys have going on here in Canada, specifically for Yellowknife. We're trying to create an event where the global community can come together and get to know each other. It is, you talk about that catalyst for change. I mean, we're trying to hit on all these values at the same time in a 4 or 5 day event. But ultimately what we hope comes out of this are stories. Stories of success, stories, you know, these are the seeds being sown, and we hear this after every convention, these remarkable wins where 2 people who didn't know each other 3, 4, 6 months later share a story where this massive business opportunity or great success story occurred. And we're not trying to hit a home run with every introduction, but what we hope will happen is you're starting to sow those seeds that are going to lead to opportunities across the globe. And we're breaking down barriers. It's amazing, again, what happens. People come in with the right mindset. If we do our job right, and we have speakers, you know, Ross Savage was an incredible National Geographic world record holder. She rode across the Pacific Ocean, which is a mind-boggling concept.
On what?
In a kayak.
She rode across the Pacific Ocean in a kayak.
Google it. You'll see it's pretty amazing.
Google it. I'll take you forward.
Well, it's not like a little kayak. This is a big seafaring vessel, but it's and you'll get to meet her, so you'll get to see firsthand. Awesome. Absolutely remarkable individual, and interestingly, someone often we see like these great athletes who become business coaches and consultants afterwards based on their athletic career. This was the opposite. Came from the business world and then moved to doing these absolutely remarkable things. So someone who had a very different path. Anyways, the point being, we bring in those speakers, we bring in, but really at the end of the day, it's about those individual meetings where people are going to do those one-to-ones. We have the one-to-one lounge, executive lounge, which is catered just for our members and our directors. And really, when we talk about our community, we don't talk about the members or the directors, because for us, they're all at the same level.
Yeah.
These are all successful business people, and they're all there for the same reason. There are a lot of ways to build business in your life. if you're an owner or a director in corporate connections, is because you're probably looking to do it a slightly different way and accelerate it. So we find when we put them together, hence our members who are often financially more successful than many of us who run the business, it creates opportunities for all of us. So to me, it's a magical few days where, yes, we get to go see some remarkable things in London. We get to participate, have a gala that's right on the River Thames with the London Tower Bridge in the background. So some really unique, fun experiences. But at the end of the day, it's about getting people together.
Well, and that was, sorry, Trevor, but that was something that I found interesting was one of our members here in Montreal said, well, why would I go? You know, from a commercial standpoint, this is a business event that I'm going to. I sell locally, and then that transformation that they had when they came back saying, holy smokes, I learned.
Smokes, yeah.
You know, it shifted my mentality or my thought process in the business.
Yeah, and he said it changed the culture of his. I think we're talking about Michael. So
yeah,
it changed the culture of his company. He said it was amazing.
It was a paradigm shift. It was a profound shift.
Yeah, and that came from kind of an industry roundtable and forum experience that we do during the convention, where he was able to sit down with peers who are not necessarily in the same industry, but they may be, but from different markets. So they have different experiences, different cultural backgrounds, and they've learned differently. And when you have that exchange of ideas in a really open and honest way, it's amazing how quickly you can learn new concepts, new ideas, and bring them home. So it's not just about, did I get business? Yeah, that's great. That happens.
So these are the you both have talked about two wonderful events that we have. But Corporate Connections has also got a regular cadence of having its meetings, structured, organized meetings that you can get involved in. Come meet people locally in your region. Get together, build intimate relationships, understand what they do, how they do it, and really have a stronger community around you that you can share, learn. That can go to the provincial or state level. That
but it's
can go to
consciously
the
built that
and
way,
then global level.
right? Because I think, yeah, we could just be an event company, right? Like you could literally just go, you know what, once a year, everyone comes, they do that, and that could be the business model. But I think by having the structured 20 meetings, you know, every 2 weeks, you bring it, and that part of that's top of mind. Part of that is if I don't see you for a couple of months, everything else in my life takes priority. But if I see you every 2 weeks, and especially, you know, in our groups here in Canada where we break bread together, whether it's breakfast or dinner or lunch, there's something very kind of community based around that, of sharing a meal, and then we bring in guests, because obviously we could just sit around the three of us every day or every couple of days and yeah, we'd make business. But the minute if we brought guests in here, you would have an exponential growth of opportunities. Like, well,
back to the walled garden that Robert talked about, it's not just bringing guests, it's bringing qualified, trusted people within our
because you want it that
garden.
If you walk in that room, I don't have to be guarded. I don't have to be like, you want to be able to say, I'm looking for this, and someone goes, that I can do. I can solve that problem. And so I think the structure, because a lot of people are like, ooh, that's a lot of meetings, and you go, actually, it's not. It really isn't. But it lends itself so well to the speed with which society is moving, the speed with which business is moving today. And I think we've done a good job, and I think some of the technology now of even building our digital community where you can go online and now ask globally, hey, I'm looking for this, and people
when you get to the top of the pyramid, the world becomes much, much smaller. Okay, from a time perspective, we're out of time. But last notes, Corporate Connections, if there's something you just want to add to close up on from a global standpoint, Robert?
Yeah, look, I think when you're able to combine purpose, values, culture, and structure, and commitment, really beautiful things happen. And that's the opportunity that we create with Corporate Connections. So I hope, as you said, we've had tremendous growth across the world. And not only do I hope, I expect us to continue to grow exponentially and watch this community grow. And then my favorite part is to hear the stories.
And be part of it.
Oh, yeah. I encourage everyone who has an interest, come check it out.
Right on. Trev, how can people get involved?
Well, they can listen to every single one of your podcasts. I think that's the first step. Smash the subscribe button if they're on YouTube. No, I think it's.
Am I supposed to ask people to subscribe?
They should be subscribing. They should be hitting the link.
Not yet. I want to hone our skills and perfect this before we go out.
Smash the subscribe button.
Seriously, corporate connections. If you have a business that's successful, you're an executive, and
if you're alone, if you're trying to figure out, look, every one of our members don't need us. They all could do what they're doing without us. We're an accelerator. We shorten the amount of time between A to B. They will get to B. They're all already successful. But if we can shorten that, if we can give them more time with their kids, if we can give them more time to vacation, if we can increase the quality of their life through these relationships, then why the heck not?
Yeah.
Right? And so it really comes down to accelerators. So we're not looking for people who are just starting out. We're looking for people who just want to get there faster and have more fun doing it. Right? Because at the end of the day, it's got to be fun. And I think we have a lot of fun.
And seamless and simple. And I appreciate both of you.
Smash the subscribe button.
Smash it.
For more of this content.
I appreciate both of you guys. I really enjoy the road that we're on to develop one heck of an interesting community all over the planet. I'm benefiting from the relationships that I have with you guys and with all the other corporate connections individuals. It's absolutely wonderful, and we're generating more opportunities personally, professionally for the people around us. And so we're looking for great people all over the planet. If you know someone that's like what Trevor said, that's looking to be part of something like this, if you're looking to be part of something like this, how do they find us, Trev?
www.corporateconnections.ca, or if you want to look at the global community, that would be .com.
And up at the top right corner, it says visit a chapter or find out more. Yeah. And we look forward to it. So the Bjorn Identity's proud to be fueled by corporate connections. I'm proud to be part of this organization. Thank you for listening. Have a beautiful day. Cheers.